All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Scour by Richard Swan. This is an arc that I received from Grimdark magazine. An arc being an advanced reader's copy. It looks like the release date of this book will be actually the 20th of October, 2025. So a month from now, this book will be out. But right now it's just an arc. Now, in the history of this channel, I've only ever accepted 2 other arcs from a publisher. Arcs are just something I normally don't do. But I did accept The Will of the Many by James Islington from my publisher, Saga Press, because they published The Will of the Many and they published me. And then I also requested Buffalo Hunter Hunter from also Saga Press, who also publishes me. Now, when Grimdark magazine contacted me about if I would like to get an arc to review on my channel from Richard Swan, I was like, this dude is one of my favorite authors, one of my favorite new fantasy writers. Of course I would like it. Not only that, but Grimdark magazine has been very kind to me in the past, saying very flattering things about my own books. And so I figured I would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I would get an arc of one of my favorite new writers and do a favor for some friends of mine at Grimdark magazine. Full disclosure, that's why we're reviewing this. I love Richard Swan. He is a great new writer, great new fantasy writer. This book, The Scour, it's 200 pages. It's a novella. I don't think this will be the final cover. I think this is the cover they did for the arc. I will show you some of the cool things about the arc. They did a nice inside illustration, which I imagine will be somewhere in the book. Oh, and I think it was even signed here by Richard Swan. This is book number, I think that says 19. Let me make sure. Anyway, I can't see it. I think it's edition number 19 or something. I don't know if you guys can see that. 19 of 100. This special ARC edition is limited to 100 copies. This copy is number 19. Yay! Anyway, so we have our main character. Well, I'm just going to read the back of the arc. It's just a really quick read here. So, in the dying port town of Gdansburg, Sir Conrad von Valt finds the unthinkable, a fellow justice imprisoned for the murder of a young boy. Despite the furious insistence of the townsfolk that this dude is guilty, the only evidence is a question written on a piece of paper by a dead man. What is the Scour? Dun, dun, dun. The answer begins in the town's haunted lighthouse and ends in its past, where Von Valt may dig up more than he bargained for. So yeah, this is a little novella set in the world of this trilogy. Now, the Justice of Kings. One of the things I want to show you is there is a map in here. And then we'll get into the plot a little bit. There's a map in the arc also of a little portion of the much larger world that's in these much larger books. So we've got this map. The map that I just showed you in the arc is kind of focused. It's a zoom in of this part of this larger map. Now, Von Valt is a justice. It means he goes around this fantasy world solving murders, investigating whatever he's asked to investigate. As a justice, he is, the sole judge and jury and executioner of whatever he wants to be. And in this trilogy, the trilogy is called Empire of the Wolf. We've got Justice of Kings, Trial of Empire, and Tyranny of Faith. This is the main trilogy, big 500-page novels. Now we get this novella about Von Valt, the main character in these books, is doing a little 200-page investigation. He's with his sidekick, his henchman, Bressinger, who's a swordsman. the two banter back and forth. There's a lot of wit and humor in it. This little book here, this little arc reminded me a lot of like Stephen Brust's Vladimir Taltost series, just in the way of the tone of it and everything, the length of it and the tone and kind of the mystery that was going to be solved, that had a lot of sorcery and stuff and skullduggery and things like it. It's very, very cool. I'm like, okay, so now we've got this trilogy, this big trilogy of these big books about this investigator that just solves mysteries in a fantasy world. Now we're going to get these little other side quest books. I think it's a great idea, kind of like a Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot investigative like series, you know, although I think this is written way better. This is more of like the Dennis Lehane or James Lee Burke version of a fantasy mystery. I mean, that's the quality of writing we're getting here. But I think it's a great idea to turn what this big trilogy did into little, maybe smaller episodes, and maybe do a bunch of them. I hope there's more than just this one that comes out, because this one was dynamite. I mean, you really felt like you were in a very medieval setting, just with the prose and the writing style of Richard Swan throughout these three books carries forth into this book. You feel like, you know, the way he's writing this, that you're really in a medieval society with a guy that's investigating medieval stuff amongst a lot of weird pagan sorcery. And even Von Barlt himself is an investigator who's not only good with a sword and good with his wits, but he's also got some magic to him also, which doesn't really make him that popular amongst the townfolk wherever he goes, whatever book it's in. And the magic system that is here, it's not over the top, it's more muted magic system. It's not big, huge Brandon Sanderson-esque magic system. It's more of the witchcraft. We're gonna roll the bones and interpret the bones and the tarot cards, and then there's gonna be some witches come out of the woodwork, and a lot of stuff kind of from Dune. Part of the magic is I mean, it's not really from Dune. Well, it is kind of like the voice. You remember when Gandalf spoke in the tongue of Mordor, or you know, Paul Atreides in Dune spoke in the dark voices. Kind of a little bit of that going on in here. That's about the extent of the magic. Anyway, the Scour, I recommend it. I hope there's more. I hope Grimdark Magazine does a whole series of these, and Richard Swan does a bunch, and or maybe even just more bigger books too. I mean, the guy's a dynamite writer.